Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of the show, but I'm going to be over here with all the cool kids tonight. That's why I'm over here. It's the whole reason for it. Waka waka.
I think back to all the better days when I used to be young and free. I remember her like it was yesterday. She was so beautiful to me. In my mind sometimes I run away, trying to stop back in history. She reminds me of the summertime, way back in 2003. Hey, she was a cutie in a sundress. I told her I just had to confess, I got a crush on you, darling. Them long tan legs got me falling. And I know we just met, yeah. But I heard that love at first sight ain't a myth. Oh no, yeah. I wanna take you out on a dance floor, girl. I wanna hear you screaming out for some more, girl. I wanna do something that they call crazy. Call you my baby, my pretty lady. I wanna be with you until we're fucking 80. I wanna watch the sunset with you daily. Keep my baby safe as we live, always chasing. Hearts racing when I'm with you, I'm just saying, yeah. Back to all the better days when I used to be young and free. I remember her like it was yesterday. She was so beautiful to me. In my mind sometimes I'll run away, trying to stop back in history. She reminds me of the summertime, way back in 2003. I've been chilling on the coast with my homegirl, with palm trees and the time moving slow, girl. Back to my place, hey, you can call it home, girl. Pina coladas on tap, we alone, girl. I want a piece of you, you want a piece of me. Ray-Bans don't gotta block out the heat. I love your smile too, I've never felt so free. Bring it on, girl, work that body here to me. And I know that summer only lasts 3 months, yeah. We got the whole world, travel with me, girl. And we'll never stop chasing the sun. That's right. On the run, we ain't done till we find what we want. So we can stop anytime we want. Cause we on the run, we ain't done till we find what we want. But I already found the one. I think back to all the better days when I used to be young and free. I remember her like it was yesterday. She was so beautiful to me. In my mind sometimes I'll run away, trying to stop back in history. She reminds me of the summertime, way back in 2003.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the exposure of 2 new cryptids, one of which mandatory carry has brought. The other one I have brought as mandatory carry. So let's get the man himself in. How are you doing?
Oh, it's one of those days.
Super cool. Hey, Steve and Tina Jewel, welcome to the show. Noah, good to see you. Noah's been talking about you for a minute, though, bud.
I believe you. Nothing good, I trust.
Absolutely not. So we've got Drew from Living Histories Mysteries. How you doing, bud?
Hey guys, I'm great, man. I'm looking forward to this. Carrie always brings the cool shit when he comes. So I'm always looking forward to whatever he has to talk about.
Right? Because I never know
Well,
anyone else does. So Carrie, let me give you the
Yes.
center stage position, and you tell us why we're here today. What's the problem?
okay. The beast within, right? They call themselves the
ex-wife.
Brethren, but you know them as werewolves, and they say they exist.
Are we talking Dogman here? Are we talking some Lugaroo?
Fortunately, not quite. All right.
Hmm.
So, first of all, I was not always mandatory carry. Once upon a time, I was just a typically confused teenager, and I was interested in Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and a couple others, and I just assumed that yes, they did exist, and we just hadn't figured it out. So I went, I think on Google. This is around 92, 90, excuse me, 93, 94. And I went on Google and I typed in Bigfoot, I think it was. I stumbled onto a website that does not exist in that form anymore, paranormal.com, and they have a section on cryptozoology. Oh, okay, let's go check that out. Let's see if they have it there. They did, but there was also somebody there who claimed to be a werewolf. That's scientifically impossible.
I know that chick. I went to school with that chick. She's not a werewolf. She's just a wolf girl.
Okay, hold on to that thought for a moment.
That
Might
means
get back to it. There was a somebody there. Chris, what was his? Anyway, Chris claimed to be a werewolf. Well, I got kind of curious and started talking to him. You know, this is scientifically not possible. Shape changing is not possible, right? Am I wrong?
Depends on whether or not you believe in skinwalkers.
Okay. Well, let's just hold on to that for a moment then. He invited me over to his website to look into werewolves some more. It was literally werewolf.com. I'm not even joking. If you go looking for it now, it's totally different. The property was abandoned and reclaimed later on. So, okay, fine, whatever. But in the meantime, I started reaching out to some of the people in that community. I found out that there was one that lived not too far from me. So I reached out to Tobias was his name. And I started talking to him. And, with his leader's permission, I'll get into that a little bit. His leader's permission, I was actually invited out to meet the rest of the pack. There was about 24 people that lived on this rundown farm outside of God damn it. It's just north of Sacramento. Woodland. There's a rundown farm just outside of Woodland. They didn't actually live there. This was more like their clubhouse where they could go when they needed to. It's about 24 of them. Robert was the alpha's name. Marguerite or Margaret, something like that, was his wife's name. She was also a member of the pack. They had called everybody in and said, we're going to meet with this normie, and we want everybody here. And as I walked in, off on my left was a group of people that seemed to be clearly divided at one point. There's about there's a little over a dozen, and most of them were on the further group as I walked in. There was a few on the closer group as I walked in, but there also seemed to be kind of a breach inside of this group, this closer group, the smaller group, as if even within them there was some difference. And then on my right was a few other groups, and they all seemed to kind of cluster in groups of 3, 4, something like that. And as I walked in, there's this guy was 80 years old, right? This is Robert. He's definitely the head of this collective. And I sat down and I talked to him for several hours. As as I'm talking to him, I find out that these two groups on my left, these are the werewolves, the members of the pack. This closer group to me, as I had walked in, was the pacifists, the people that did not use violence. The further group was extremely violent. This is a Fight Club in the streets level shit. These guys actually got into a bit of a squabble during this meeting. It was, I don't know what it was, but Robert put a stop to that shit. And I found out within this pacifist group, this tiny little sliver group, were former soldiers. That's what the violent group calls themselves. They were former soldiers. They'd done their fighting time. They were done, and for lack of a better word, they were retired. Off on my left, or right as I had entered, these were all normal people. There was one little cluster up real close to Robert, and I got the feeling that they were sitting there for a reason. They were all former vampires. How crazy do I sound so far?
This is actually on about par with normal carry type activity, but in a totally different subject matter than usual.
That's fair. Drew, how crazy do I sound?
So far, not too far off from what I consider part of reality.
Uh-oh.
I mean,
Yeah,
not like cuckoo for puffs, but you know, you're touching on some pretty cool stuff here.
Okay.
I once met a person who claimed to be a werewolf.
I'm not going to question that yet.
I'll explain it later.
Okay, yeah, explain it later. All right, so first of all, I found out what their lore is, what their version of their history is. Robert explained it to me this way. 10,000 years ago, there was when we were living in mud huts. He made a point of it to say mud huts rather than caves. But anyway, there was a human who wanted power. He wanted to rule over the rest of his little tribe. He made a deal with the devil that he would be the devil's servant, and to seal that deal, he would drink human blood. Okay. Well, that kind of conforms to a lot of other traditions about vampiric people. So that's okay. There was another member of that tribe who also, he saw this first vampire gain power, and he wanted some of that power. So he went to the vampire and said, "Make me your servant, and I will be your enforcer." To seal his pact, he not only killed people for his master, but he ate their bodies to dispose of them.
I don't have a problem with this so far. Where did he go wrong?
Hold on to that thought. I'll get to it. He was the first werewolf. All right. For the next 5-ish thousand years, they're going along. Everybody's happy. The vampires are gaining power. They settle in a region of Southeast Europe that the locals called the Kingdom of Dacia. Drew, that name ring a bell?
From somewhere in my past, Dacia.
Hello, Orb Puff.
All right, I'll get to it.
We're slowly losing our minds over here, but I'm sure there's a point in here somewhere, and I'm going to find it.
We're getting there
I
fast.
remember a story from years ago where I believe Daisha was, God, what was it? Was Daisha the original vampire? The original queen of the vampires?
Correct. The original kingdom of the vampires. But hold on to that thought. I'll just close it up for you. All right. Dacia was a kingdom that bordered Rome. For reasons that aren't exactly clear, Dacia's king started raiding Roman villages. The Romans went to the Dacian king with a big chest of gold and said, "Stop harassing our people." The Dacian king, who was, by the way, yes, a vampire, said, "No problem. I'll put a stop to this." A couple years later, they're right back at it, raiding Roman villages. The Romans come back a second time with the second chest of gold and say, "Stop harassing our villages or else." The Dacian king says, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I got it. This is under control." A few years later, it started again. This time, the Roman army came back. About 5 legions of Roman army. That's more than the legions that marched into Germany. And they absolutely destroyed everything in sight. That was the Trajanic War. And as Rome conquered Dacia, they renamed it Romania. There's a tiny little region in Romania called Transylvania. Does that name ring a bell?
Nah, dude, never heard of it. Read a book once.
You read a book you can read?
I can even.
How about you, Drew?
Oh yeah, I have a very extensive library here in the studio. I probably got 40 or 50 books stuck on various shelves and cabinets and things. So
Are they being
I
used
read
to
quite a
keep the
bit.
people up?
And none of them are Dr. Seuss, so I'm doing pretty well.
Hey,
You didn't
man,
have
Llama
Dr.
Llama
Seuss.
is a real
Moving
good
on.
rap song.
Okay, there's more to the story. The werewolves were basically annihilated, or pretty close. But the vampires, the nobility, managed to escape. The werewolves blamed the vampires for betraying them to the Romans, and they declared that their pact was broken. The brethren, as they call themselves, continued in trying to assimilate into what was left of society over the next couple of 100 years until something came along, something very, very new called Christianity. As Christianity started taking over Europe, starting with the Roman Empire, the werewolves started converting to Christianity as well. And one of them, this is their legend, had, was it a dream or a vision? I forgot. Anyway, that said that if the brethren were to take a new pact to protect humanity, their sins would be forgiven to the beginning of time. After that, they claim that they became humanity's protectors against vampires first, all Satanists second, and when needed, they would defend humans against humans, but it was one of those rare, special things. So far, it all sounds crazy, right?
Start raving bat shit, clipped in the goddamn nuts, smearing shit on the walls type crazy. Yeah, I'll go with that.
All right.
Sounds
Drew?
accurate to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's totally different than what we're taught um, in the world today about natural beings and their existence and the origins of their stories and things like that. So yeah, I mean we're going to hold for angle. I'm liking it so far.
Okay, so flash forward a couple of hundred years. Um, there's there's been atrocities by humans on humans over time. Werewolf law, excuse me, says you cannot kill a human unless it is unavoidable. You do not have to be abused by one. You do not have to let them hurt you, but you cannot kill them unless it cannot be otherwise avoided.
Human law says the same thing.
Hold on to this. Hold on to that for a second. It's a little more serious. It's a lot more serious. Their history gets really muddy from roughly the Council of Nicaea to roughly World War II. During World War II, as Germany was losing, they formed a werewolf, terrorists whose job was to harass the Allied forces as they marched across Germany.
Please tell me his name was El Lobo. Please.
Worse. It was no werewolves were involved in that because they knew about the death camps and had been smuggling Jews out of Germany and the rest of Europe the whole time. Robert told me that one of their favorite tactics was to take on a few people, claim that they were workers, basically slaves in all but name. Sail down to Palestine or Africa or something, basically kick them off the boat and tell them you're on your own from here, figure it out, but you're alive for now. And then they'd go back and they'd come back to Palestine or Africa or wherever the fuck it was they ended up with the exact same documentation. They would just keep recycling these IDs and try to get these people out. They actually would start harassing Waffen SS troops here and there, as especially as Russians came in, because it helped to create the collapse of the German army. Okay. A little bit more modern history.
Let me, before we go any further, let me make a comment. It was not very long ago that I done a video on Hitler's involvement in UFO technology, the supernatural, stuff like that. It is a well-known fact that Hitler's scientists did work with splicing or attempting to splice animal and human DNA together to make greater soldiers. That's a documented fact.
Yeah,
I
believe they did.
Somewhere in there he succeeded?
No, it's nothing to do with that. As a matter of fact, I don't think they did succeed. I think they failed so epically that they don't even know how badly they failed. This is something totally separate. Okay, so this pack, the soldiers, about half of the soldiers and all of the retired soldiers had very recently, like a few years, come back from Rwanda. What was going on in Rwanda in the 90s?
What?
Genocide!
Okay, right. No, you're not wrong.
Well, yeah.
Several.
The Hutu genocide of the Tutsis. Or did I get that backwards again?
There were three: the Bantu genocide of the Hutu, and the Hutu genocide of the Tutsi, or vice versa. There was a little series of like
Okay.
really nasty behavior. I believe it included Idi Amin, and he ate the hearts of his victims.
That would not surprise me. But these brethren had just come back, not just come back, they'd settled back into civilian life, for lack of a better word. They had gone to Rwanda with Chevy vans, because apparently Chevy vans can be converted into armored vans more easily than Ford vans at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they went down with about a dozen FNFALs that they had converted to automatic. Their plan was to go into Rwanda, start collecting up Tutsis, and take them across the border and basically, okay, you're across the border, you're on your own from here. But we got you out of the bad area, and it is what it is. Remember what I said about their law says it's better. Their law says you cannot kill a human unless it's absolutely unavoidable.
Yes.
All right. So there's one member of the pack. She referred to herself as Claire. Robert's telling me the story about their activities in Rwanda, and he said that one of the pack had to break the law and kill a human, Hutu, by shooting him at point blank range and basically blowing his body apart. I thought that's just ridiculous. That didn't happen. So this tiny little girl that you would think would be, someday is going to become a welfare mom, looked right at me and said, "Ask me what eyeball tastes like."
It's squishy and a bit salty, and it has a really cute rind on it.
Thank you very much. I didn't ask any more questions. But when she shot him, she blew his face off, and apparently part of his eye had flown through the air and landed in her mouth. Because it was an unexpected situation, an unplanned and unforeseeable situation, under their law, normally they could kill her for killing a human, first of all, and second of all, for having eaten human flesh.
Welcome in, Batloop. Good to see you, bud. Smoking Auditor, good to see you.
They made an exception in this case. They made her do 10 push-ups and meditate for an hour every day for a month. Because it was an unavoidable situation. It was either she shot the fuck out of him, or he was going to start killing the people that they were collecting up to take away. So they made a very special exception in this case, but no special accommodation, no special privileges, no nothing. You screwed up under a situation where anybody else would have screwed up. So okay, fine, you get to live,
Hey,
but you've got to. but you've got to answer for having eaten human flesh. So her punishment was to do 10 push-ups and meditate for an hour every day for a month until her mind was clear again.
You know, that kind of reminds me of One Punch Man's exercise routine. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 burpees.
Not quite the same, but okay, we're gonna go with it. And I actually got to talk to her a little bit later on, and yeah, that did mess her up because, well, she had somebody's eyeball in her mouth. Yeah, that's actually pretty gross. And she also emptied the clip from so close that she could have bayoneted the guy. They spent about 4 months just shuttling people out of the country. This was the only time they apparently had violence that I know about. But this one time, it was so extreme that they just... I mean, it was what it was. Okay. A little bit about their customs. They have a way of referring to each other. They refer to each other by their middle names. Right? My middle name is Lee. Right? So if I was a member of their pack, my name within the pack would be Lee. They're not supposed to talk to each other in public unless they have another reason for knowing each other. Drew, Squatch, I know you guys from YouTube, but I don't think actually, if all three of us were to live in Sacramento, I don't think we'd ever cross paths. Squatch, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Let's just say...
Immediately if I lived in Sacramento.
Well, first of all, there's that.
Paths at all. I'd leave.
I loved it in Sacramento, but that's not the point here.
I choose not to live there.
Let's just say you were an employee at a warehouse that I had worked, because I was working security at the time. If I were to see you every day as you're coming into work, then I would have a reason to know you, but I would know you as Squatch and not as
Edmund.
Edmund. Okay, great. I would have picked on Samuel if you hadn't have interrupted me. So at the warehouse, I would always refer to you as Mr. Squatch. How are you doing today? But at the pack house, you would be Edmund. Brethren, Edmund. The pack house was actually a run-down farm. New members of the pack are invited to move out there for about a month while they're being trained. Their trainer is referred to as their father. Apparently it's a reference or a throwback to the days when they would adopt their trainees. They would move out there for about a month while they're being trained, and then they're strongly encouraged to move. They're never required to move out of the house, but they're strongly encouraged to move out of the house to get a real job. If they had drug issues, they were required to get treatment. Or they required to stay in treatment, rather. They were encouraged to get real lives, but they were also required to drop their real life to come deal with pack business in particular and brethren business in general. Like the trip to Rwanda, that was not actually brethren business. That was uh, pack business. There may have been other packs there, but this pack was there on their own. Uh, nobody asked them to go. They went on their own. I also got to see a reenactment of a mating ritual, which fortunately it was only a partial reenactment. The couple that it's getting mated sit Indian style facing each other. He puts his knees on one of hers. She puts her knees on one of his. They put their hands together in front of them, and they start pushing at each other. Sooner or later, one of them is going to win the pushing match, and at that point, they have sex in front of the whole pack.
Hey, Donald, welcome to the show, bud.
What else? There was one other thing, and this always struck me as very, very weird for so very long. Robert, before I left, had said a couple things to me. One of them was that the general belief was that the gene that causes them to transform into a wolf was recessive and diluting, but he believed they were all just kind of mentally ill. The second thing he said, and this struck me as really strange. He said, first of all, that I'm not brethren. They say they can sense brethren. But that my path was different from theirs, and that I needed to keep walking it, and someday it would come out. Or no, someday I would see it. Well, over the last few months, I've seen a few things that I was like, I just got to speak up. There's things that I was seeing that I was, no. Robert would have killed people that were acting in the way that these people are acting. The one that comes to mind is a particular video that portrayed werewolves as vampires. I saw that and I was like, no, that's not how they work. No, JJ, you don't want to read up. Right about then, actually, is when I started reaching out to people who I thought might be interested. Say, listen, this is the thing I saw. You can believe me or not. I'm not quite sure I completely believe me, but I do know what I saw. At this point, I'll answer whatever questions you got that I can answer. It's not a very long list.
All right. First question. What was he wearing?
Robert?
Sure.
A blue t-shirt. Why?
I was just curious. You can't be a werewolf. They hate blue. I'm jerking your chain, dude. Honestly,
okay.
I met an individual many moons ago who swore on everything that was holy that he was a werewolf. Now, I will be honest with you. After stuffing him into a trash can, we decided that he probably wasn't. right?
Are you sure?
Not 100%, but you know, he didn't stick around long enough really to find out. Actually, that's Drew's headphones over there. I have chewed through his sound 100 times. Every time I bring him on, we sit down and try to work it out. I have no idea what causes it. He says it's his headphones. I say it's ghosts from beyond, possibly aliens. I don't know. Maybe it's Wolfman.
Oh, Grandma.
Well,
Hi,
I
Grandma.
mean, don't forget, I am notorious that what I broadcast on here is the same equipment that I take out in the field when I do investigations. So I've commented several times on bringing home Ghost in the Machine. So who knows? I mean, could be.
Okay, that's not the craziest idea. Drew, anything?
I guess not.
I guess not.
All right, so
I'm-
you met homie, and I'm not going to ask specifically where, but what type of environment? Was it like a work type place, or are we talking like you were out at the park, he was sniffing other dogs' butts or something?
It was a rundown farm. I think I said that.
Could be chasing the sheep. So and was dude especially hairy or large? Did he meet height?
Right. They were all actually really clean shaven. By a show of hands amongst the werewolves. The males don't like facial hair. They were also their heads were buzzed. Like, okay, take a look at my head right now. See how close that is?
Yeah.
They were all of the guys were like that. They do not like well, Robert said they don't like body hair. You have seen me much hairier than any of them were. The women kept their hair pretty short too. No, not quite that buzz freaky.
I'm trying to keep up with Chad over here. They're all over the freaking place. It's not going well for me.
Yeah, I'm keeping track of your chat and my chat. So, hey.
Wait a minute, they're not both showing on StreamYard?
Yeah, they both show up on my StreamYards. I'm not sure if they show up on y'all's. I think so.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure if they did or not.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So you met homie in a sort of a casual sort of meeting. It wasn't like you had to work with him every single day type thing.
No,
Okay.
This was a very special formal event. Matter of fact, they were wearing their uniforms. Red shirts.
Picture of a Gestapo with a black armband. Go ahead.
No.
Continue.
Soldiers wore red T-shirts. Pacifists wore blue T-shirts, except for the retired soldiers. They still wore their red T-shirts.
So wait a second. A group like this actually let a group of pacifists exist?
Yes.
Within the group?
Yes.
So you basically had hunters, you had civilians, you had soldiers.
Yes.
Huh.
The pacifists apparently served a very, very special purpose. Somewhere around 500-ish years ago, they realized that they needed people who espoused nonviolence um, um, to keep a hold on them, to help them understand when they screwed up, like chaplains do.
Vessors?
Uh, not sin eaters. Confessor might be a little bit high, a little above their actual outside the rate. Actually, Robert was, for lack of a better word, their confessor. You screw up, you go to him and you tell him what you did, and then he'll assign you to somebody if he thinks you need it.
I'm going to be perfectly clear about this. You left that cookie completely unguarded. It no longer belongs to you. Jenica, it's because Sasquatch is actually blurry. That's why I have to use this people filter for you to see me.
Oh,
no,
leave that up for a second.
Which one? This one?
That one right there, Snark and Sass. Okay. Snark is talking obviously about people wearing animal suits, right? The Beast of Bray Road is a member of the Brethren. It's a different person in every apparent sighting, but they sent somebody out on the road when they were having meetings to scare away outsiders.
I see these gentlemen have never been to Georgia and met a redneck who's a little liquored up on a distant country road, because that's not the way you do it. That's the way you get a specimen.
Well, that's Robert's statement at the time, and I'm not in a position to tell him he's wrong. AJ, when are you guys?
Yes, there's an echo. We know there's an echo. We are aware of the echo. We are sorry about the echo. We cannot fix the echo, though we wish we could.
And when are you going to greet me properly?
Yeah.
It's good, bud. Don't sweat it. We'll get over it.
No, I won't. I'm going to hold the grudge until she greets me properly. Moving on. Okay. The retired vampires all had to wear white. And the normal humans, there's about a half a dozen of them there, they got to wear whatever they wanted. That's better. I'm not exactly sure. The former vampires, I understand. There's a long story to that. The normal humans, I'm not quite sure what the hell they were doing there. That was never explained to me. The former vampires in particular, there was a special word they had for this. Something catcher. Catcher something. Catcher in the Rye. Something like that. Anyway. They had a process that they could take somebody who had been a vampire and wanted to go back to being a human, and by a lot of meditation and some abuse, bring them back to humanity.
And what's their point in them desiring to be human? I don't understand this concept. If you're going to be a predator of the flesh, why not be bred by nature of tooth and claw?
Listen, it wasn't. That's a question I can't answer. I don't even know what led them to the decision to go there or come back. Maybe I should have taken an hour and interviewed one of them too. I don't know.
All right, so the closest I can get to this is I once interviewed a Mormon. He got real upset when I started asking him about his magical underwear. He hadn't talked to me before.
Really? Somebody that you pissed off? Drew, do you believe that?
That
He
what
hasn't
could
told me
possibly
anything.
piss somebody off? No.
Yes. See, Drew doesn't believe it either.
He's such a fuzzy bag of fun. I mean, I just don't understand it. I don't understand the concept of him being able to piss somebody off.
You
want to see a fuzzy bag of fun, baby? I'll show you a fuzzy bag of fun.
This is no, this is not Pornhub.
You don't know.
All right.
I can stream to several places.
Yeah, go over Pornhub and type in fuzzy bag of fun.
We're still on YouTube, right?
I advise anyone to do that. That is bad advice. Don't take his advice on this one topic. Just skip it.
Yeah. This is We Love You, Susan, not Pornhub. I know Snark is talking about Mormons. But yeah, these people were pretty secretive. They would only speak to me when I actually turned and spoke to one of them, with the exception of ask me what an eyeball tastes like. But it seemed more like they were trying to speak in a single unified voice, so they wanted Robert to speak for them.
Okay, was there an orange group by chance?
No, why?
Because the cracker I talked to that said he was a werewolf was always wearing just straight orange, like orange everything he get his hands on. A particular orange at that, not just any orange, but like weird burnt umber orange.
I can't speak to that. Might be his PAX uniform color. It's very much PAX centric. If you are a member of the pack, your pack is literally your entire thing. I was living in Sacramento at the time, so being there, I would maybe be a member of that pack. That's the only brethren I had anything to do with. Everybody else worldwide, they are brethren. Okay, fine, but that's it. As far as I'm concerned, they're not important.
Okay. So the best place to be in a pack is the alpha. Noted. Kill all subordinates. Yes.
No. Heavy in their culture. Heavy is very much the crown that wears the head.
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter what the situation is. The alpha is always in trouble if somebody screws up. No, Donald.
But isn't it that way in every culture?
Local.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Isn't that in every culture?
More or less. But in theirs, it's every punishment that's meted out to a member has to be meted out to the alpha, short of
Welcome to the
Well,
show, sir.
they kill each other as part of their law if you screw up badly enough. Well, you can't kill the alpha, uh, but you can beat him. You can whip him. You can beat him. You can lock him up for a couple days with no food. That's a thing that they did. That sort of thing.
I guess just my issue with all of this is I really don't see the whole point behind it. There's different groups, obviously, and so there's a hierarchy amongst the groups as well as within the groups, which you would expect with any type of pack mentality. We do that as people. We set up an immediate pecking order within seconds of having met each other, and if it is not immediately observed by those individuals, violence ensues.
There's no pecking order outside. There is no unification outside of your pack.
Yeah, but there's certain groups that fuck with other groups, and those groups don't fuck back because they know better. I'm certain.
Apparently, there's not.
If there is any aspect of these people that have a humanity of any type, there's definite dick measuring going on.
Well, there was your first mistake. If they have a humanity of any kind,
even imitating humanity would immediately construct a dick measuring contest for everyone in the room.
Within the pack, yes. Outside the pack, apparently not. They didn't even know where other packs could be found. And they tend to try to avoid each other, I guess. It wasn't really that clear. But they, as I said, they say they can feel each other's presence. When you run into another brethren outside of your own area, just give them a wide berth.
All right, bud. We got about 3 minutes to wrap some shit up. If you've got anything in particular you want to approach,
that's the best I got for you. They really, really hate vampires. They really, really, really hate all of their Satanists, and that was the word he kept using. That's not. He didn't call them vampires. He called them something that I won't repeat on your channel, at least not in the open. But they really hate all Satanists, and they're not actually very fond of humans either. They don't really like humans. It's more like a obligation than particular. Yeah.
I speak both ways. All right, bud. I'm going to give Drew the floor for a minute, and then we'll come back to you, and then we'll dip out, and we'll be done. We can go hog wild after the show. I do got a few questions, but I don't really feel safe asking on you do. All right. Drew, dude, tell the world everything about it.
Well, for those of you who are not watching on my stream right now, if you're watching over on Squatches, you probably better off. But no, you can actually catch me over at Living Histories Mysteries. We mostly focus on the mysteries that history left behind. We do parahistorical research. We don't just go to haunted locations, we go to haunted historic locations. Um, on the move, guys, growing. But
Fantastic.
I was very, very happy to co-host this with Squatch tonight and listen to everything that Carrie had to say. And I'm probably still just as confused as I was when it all began. But
Amen, brother. Appreciate you coming in.
it's important. So it's important.
Fantastic.
But that's
Gary,
really all I got to say.
Gary, tell them what you got to tell them in a quick format.
In a quick format, Boa, I don't know. Rob, least wanted, and for everybody else, listen, I know what I saw, and that's it.
All right, bud. Super duper. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all heard it here first. Apparently, there is an entire complete pack of werewolves roaming around the greater Sacramento area, which I could buy with all the human excrement currently on the streets. It makes perfect sense. I mean, if you think about it, they'd be animalistic as hell, right? So I appreciate everybody coming by on all the channels that were involved. It was a pretty cool feature. I think this worked out pretty well. And hopefully next time we'll have everything worked out a little smoother. Because eventually I'm going to get a vehicle under me and I'm going to sneak into Drew's house and fix his mic. I swear to God. I'm going to go over there and kidnap his laptop for an hour and then secretly put it back in so he doesn't notice. It just won't echo anymore. That's the way that's going to happen. So I'm going to leave y'all with a few words from our only sponsor, 007. What are the humans doing?
Do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies, but no one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile. Yeah. Signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile. So if you think you're ready, you don't need more proof. Conspiracy deniers are denying the truth. They fabricate our problems and pretend to provide the best solution, but we all know they lie. They lied about the weapons and they lied about health. They lied about the fact that they're transferring the wealth. You should really notice how they're pushing the fear. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. Yeah. Everybody's not thinking clear. Keep everybody terrified.
Unfortunately, you can't tell the show usually on a 2-hour broadcast. This time, it is the
Everybody terrified, not thinking clear. When you